System apocalypse, cultivation, OP underdog, endless progression, 16 books and counting. Let's dive in. Hey darling, welcome back. Boyce here, and here on my channel, my goal is to help you find your next book obsession. Today we are looking at Defiance of the Fall by TheFirstDefier, aka J.F. Brink. Now, stick around to the end because I have some things you need to know before you commit to this massive series. We're talking 16 books with more coming. This is originally a web serial with 20 million views on Royal Road and reader opinions that are all over the map. Some people are absolutely obsessed, binge reading the entire thing in weeks, while others tap out around book 10, saying it lost them completely. So make sure to stay to the end because I have some surprising insights about the series that will help you decide if this is your next binge or your next hard pass. And remember, if you're here for honest book recommendations that save you time and money, subscribe so that you never miss a video. All right, let's dive in. Now, this is a first look, which means you and I are going to figure out together if we even want to put this on our TBR. That means I have not read this yet, but I'm taking all of my years of publishing experience to get you the info you need to decide if you want to read this or not. My first looks are my deep dives into popular books and lesser known gems that I think you might really love. Unlike my Fresh Off the Press series where I dive into brand new releases, first looks focus on books that already have the reader buzz. I get to dig into what people are actually saying and help you cut through the hype. Think of it as your filter for separating genuine must-reads from overhyped disappointments, all based on real reader feedback and my 2 decades of industry experience. Now let's dive into more details. This is book 1 of 16. The genres we're looking at are LitRPG, progression fantasy, system apocalypse, and cultivation. There are a lot of really interesting cultivation and LitRPG fusion elements, as well as solo survival and power fantasy. So what are the key tropes we're looking at? System apocalypse, because Earth is integrated into a multiverse. Weak to strong progression, solo survival at the start, stats, skills, classes, and cultivation elements. An underdog with absurd luck, and empire building in the later books, as well as multiple power systems. So what is this book about, really? This is a system apocalypse story where Earth gets forcibly merged into a multiverse governed by a game-like system, blending LitRPG mechanics with Eastern cultivation philosophy. One guy with a hatchet accidentally kills a powerful herald at the start and has to survive alone while the entire world burns around him. Now, this series is buzzing because it has 20 million views on Royal Road as a web serial. It consistently sells well on Amazon, and it has a devoted fan base that has been following Zach's journey for years. It's published by Aethon Books, available on Kindle Unlimited, and has a solid audiobook narration by Pavi Prosko. I am so sorry if I said that wrong. I really hope I didn't. So let's talk about our first fun fact of the video. This started, as I said before, as a web serial that the author posted chapter by chapter on Royal Road before it got picked up for traditional publication. That web serial background explains both its devoted fan base and some of its structural quirks. It was written for weekly chapter releases after all, not as complete books, which means the pacing can feel different than traditionally published novels. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that you need to consider before you dive in. So here's the premise. Zach Atwood is camping in the woods with his girlfriend and her friends, just living his normal life on Earth, when the world changes. Literally. The entire planet gets forcibly integrated into something called the multiverse, a vast universe full of countless alien races, cultivation techniques, and beings with godlike power, all governed by an impersonal system that works like a cosmic RPG. The system assigns everyone classes, stats, and skills. It's an instant apocalypse. Zach is standing in exactly the right, or wrong, place, depending on how you look at it, when a demon herald spawns. Through sheer dumb luck and one desperate swing of his hatchet, he kills this incredibly powerful being and absorbs all of its power. This accident makes him one of the strongest humans on Earth within minutes of the apocalypse starting. But, and this is crucial, he is now trapped in a tutorial zone, alone, cut off from everyone he knows, and surrounded by demon armies that want him dead. He has to survive months of brutal combat completely solo, learning the system, grinding levels, and desperately trying to get strong enough to find his family before Earth completely falls apart. Talk about a quest. The series follows Zach as he goes from accidental powerhouse to someone intentionally forging his own path to true power in a multiverse where even random passersby might hold the power of a god. It blends video game mechanics, those stats, skills, classes that are absolutely integral to LitRPG, with cultivation philosophy, Tao comprehension, energy pathways, breakthrough bottlenecks, that kind of thing, in a way that appeals to fans of both genres. So what makes the premise work is that Zach doesn't just coast on that initial luck. He earns every step forward through bloody, desperate fights. This isn't a chosen one story. I mean, he makes terrible decisions. He nearly dies constantly, from what I can tell. And the system itself seems determined to throw him into impossible situations. And as the series progresses, the scope expands from survive the island to navigate galactic politics and ancient cosmic powers. Now, if this book sounds like your next obsession, hit that like button with a hatchet and let's move on to our next fun fact. Fun fact number 2. The author goes by TheFirstDefier, which is actually a title from within the story itself. It's connected to the system and Zach's path to power. This kind of meta-naming choice for his Royal Road tag is pretty common in the LitRPG and web serial community, where authors often have usernames that connect to their stories. Now, real quick before we continue, today's merch feature is this adorable, over here, it's this one, this adorable sticker. I just think it's super cute. It doesn't super have anything to do with the story, but I thought it was adorable. It's a fantasy paladin-esque, and it kind of reminded me of the beings on the cover. So that's why I chose this as today's featured merch. And if you want to grab it, I'm going to put the link below. It's priced really affordably because in this economy, it has to be. All right, let's dive back in. First, what makes this book special? The fusion of LitRPG and Cultivation works better than you might expect. Instead of it feeling like two separate systems that are awkwardly stapled together, the book uses the system's game mechanics as a framework that supports the cultivation philosophy underneath. Apparently, we get a really satisfying stat progression and skill unlocks, but we also get deeper character growth through understanding Tao concepts and building power pathways. It scratches both the numbers go up itch and the philosophical journey to power itch simultaneously. So if you're a progression fantasy fan who wants to watch someone grind from normal human with a hatchet to someone who can challenge gods, this series apparently delivers that power fantasy in spades. It's unabashedly about getting stronger, and it doesn't apologize for being a power progression story. For readers who love both Western LitRPG and Eastern cultivation novels, but find pure cultivation stories a little too slow, this sits right in that sweet spot. Now, this series rewards commitment. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Readers who stick with it through all of the books report that the payoff for following Zach's journey is substantial. The world keeps expanding, new mysteries unfold, and side characters who seemed minor at the beginning become major players later. Now, is there anything I need to give you a heads up about? Yes, several important things. First, this is, like I said, a web serial that got published, which means the early chapters can be kind of rough from what I'm reading. However, the writing quality apparently improves significantly as the series progresses. Readers consistently say that the author gets better with each book. Second, be prepared for extreme detail about stats, skills, cultivation techniques, and power systems. Some readers love this level of granular progression, while others describe it as reading a spreadsheet, because there's just so much information about energy pathways, Tao branches, skill integrations and interactions, and breakthrough requirements. So later books, especially, according to what I was reading, get very technical about the cultivation detail. Third, this series has a controversial protagonist. Zach starts out as a pretty flat character from the criticism that I've read. He apparently is kind of reactive and not particularly introspective. and readers describe him as as a murder hobo who solves problems by hitting them with his axe. Character development does happen, but it seems from what I read that it's kind of slow. And some readers never connect with him emotionally. Fourth, and this is a big one, reader consensus is that books 10 through 12 kind of drag in terms of pacing and action. Finally, the series is long and still ongoing. You are committing to 16 books of about 500 pages each if you want to be caught up. That's a significant time investment, and the series isn't finished, so there's no guarantee of what kind of an ending it's going to have quite yet. Now, I realize that since my own series is left open at the moment and I don't have Wraithblade 4, that's kind of a hypocritical thing to say, but I do just want to share with you what I was reading in reviews and be completely upfront with what I'm discovering as I do this research. Okay, fun fact number 3. The audiobook narration by Pavi Prozko, again, I'm so sorry if I said that wrong, gets consistently high praise from listeners. Even readers who have issues with the writing or the pacing often say that the audiobook version helps them stay engaged. The narrator apparently does excellent character voices and keeps the energy up even during the heavy stat talk sections. So if you're an audiobook person, that might be your best entry point. Now, I am a deep believer of personal connection and identity in any book that I read. So here's what this book speaks to on a deeper level. For readers who feel overwhelmed by life's circumstances and crave stories about someone who refuses to quit no matter what, this book delivers. Zach's defining characteristic is sheer stubborn grit. He gets knocked down constantly, he faces impossible odds, and he keeps swinging anyway. There's something validating about watching someone just refuse to give up. Understanding yourself and the world more deeply resonates with readers who want progression stories that aren't just about number go up. The Tao comprehension system forces Zach to actually reflect on his path and what kind of person he's becoming through this violent journey to power. However, and I almost hesitate to say this, but it came up in multiple reviews, so I feel like I owe it to you to say this. A lot of people criticize that there's not emotional depth or nuanced exploration of trauma. Zach processes apocalyptic horror and constant near-death experiences by punching things and hitting them with sharp objects. If you need your power fantasies to engage with the psychological reality of what this journey would actually do to someone, from what I'm reading, and I could absolutely be wrong, but this doesn't seem like that kind of book. Now, there is it gets better problem, I guess, for lack of a better word. A substantial portion of the readership admits that books 1 through 3 are rough, books 4 through 9 are great, books 10 through 12 drag, and books 13 onward really pick back up. That's, again, I hate to be super critical, but that's a lot of inconsistency for a series this long. Readers actively tell newcomers to stick with it through book 12 and you will be rewarded, which is asking people to read thousands of pages on the promise that it improves. From what I was reading, the series also may have kind of a burnout problem. Multiple longtime reviewers report hitting walls where they just can't process any more of the detailed cultivation descriptions, stat breakdowns, the power system explanations, all of that. The information density increases as the series progresses, and some readers describe losing track of the plot lines, characters, and motivations because there's just so much to keep up with. Now, that might sound like a lot of criticism, and I'm very sorry if it comes across that way. I just want you to know what you're in for, and that's what these first looks are always about. It's about pros and cons. And I still wanted to feature this story because 20 million views is significant. Readers found something they really loved here. This series has remained popular for years. It clearly works for its target audience, who I think is progression fantasy fans who prioritize power scaling and world building over perhaps character depth. And honestly, some of the most devoted fans are the ones openly acknowledging these perceived flaws while still absolutely loving the series. That suggests there's a real substance to be had here. Readers consistently praise the world building, with one even saying that Defiance of the Fall excels at world building and noting how it creates a breathing world by introducing those powerhouses early. The multiverse gets genuinely vast and dangerous, and the power hierarchy makes sense. The different alien races and factions have distinct cultures and motivations. There is a lot of complexity and well-rounded world building in this story from everything that I've read in my research. Additionally, for readers who love watching the numbers go up and seeing skill trees get filled out, this delivers consistently. One reviewer noted that if you love to read Xansia, I always say that wrong, game-lit and post-apocalyptic stories and want all of that in one, you found it. A lot of readers also mention being hooked by the initial setup, saying that it has Savage Dominion vibes, and they appreciate the intense solo survival battles. Those first few months of Zach grinding alone, desperate and overwhelmed, they create genuine tension right from the get-go. Now, I want to be very clear, this is not a romance. There is essentially no sexual content in these books. Zach does have some romantic subplots that develop slowly over many books, but this is a story that knows what it is, a power progression story first and foremost. So if you're looking for romance or steamy content, this is absolutely not the series for you. So now, what you have been waiting for, are you going to like this? I think that the people who will really love this story are hardcore progression fantasy fans who want to watch someone grind from mortal to god, LitRPG readers who also enjoy Cultivation novels and want the best of both worlds, readers who loved Cradle, Primal Hunter, or He Who Fights with Monsters and want something in that vein. I also think that audiobook listeners who can handle a long series are going to love this because the narration is apparently excellent. And anyone who loved reading about Zach on Royal Road and wants the polished, published version. Now, who is going to want to skip this? I think readers who need strong character work and emotional depth in their protagonists might be a bit disappointed. Anyone looking for romance or relationship development as a primary story element, this is not for you. People who don't really want to wait for later books for the pacing to even out. And obviously, anyone not willing to commit to 16 plus books to get the full experience. You're not really going to love this. Now, you can get this primarily on Amazon in the Kindle version, Kindle Unlimited, paperback. I think I saw a hardcover too, and obviously the audiobook is available as well. And this is published, as I said before, by Athon Books. And as a special note, if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, you can binge the entire published series without actually buying the books, which makes such a long series less daunting financially. So I want to know, is this on your TBR? Have you already read the series or at least started it? And if you have read the whole series, what did you think of books 10 through 12? Drop your thoughts below. If you think I'm underestimating or overestimating the series, I really want to know, because as I said with these first looks, it is entirely based on research. I have not had a chance to read these yet. This is you and I deciding if we want to put this on our TBR. You know I always love your insights, especially when you disagree with me, because I love these conversations and the back and forth. If this helped you figure out whether to start this massive series or not, please hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into popular books and hidden gems. I'd really appreciate a like if you would consider giving this a like to help me out with the algorithms. And hey, if you love progression fantasy, obviously my own books are available on Amazon. So if you don't mind giving that a read, letting me know what you think about it, it will help me continue to fuel my insane book hauls. Your next video is popping up right here. So let's keep the book talk going. Happy reading, darling. Bye.